I'm Chanell J. Wilson for Braid Girl. I'm also a recording artist, and I'm going to talk about Nappily Ever After on Netflix. The movie with Chanell Lathan. Now, if you haven't seen the movie just yet, before you watch this review, I think you should go watch it and then come on back to the review. I will not intentionally give spoilers, but while I give the review, I may shed some information about the story that you may not wanted to know prior to seeing it. So please, if you don't want any spoilers, go watch the movie first on Netflix and then come on back and check out this review. Let's see, how do I want to begin? So overall, I enjoyed the experience of the movie. By the way, my son is watching his little program. I said he could watch one more program, so you might hear him in the background doing a little talking. I'll try to keep it down to a minimum. Okay, so overall, I enjoyed the story. I told you. One moment. Try that again. Okay, so overall, I enjoyed the experience of the movie. Like, it was a really good experience. It's gonna die, Nathan. Overall, I enjoyed the experience of the movie. Cute little romantic comedy. It had that warm orange and teal feel. You know how that when movies are that romantic, fun, lovey-dovey, almost, I hate to use the phrase chick flick right now, but when it has that romantic feel, it's that orange and teal, very warm type of tint used when they're doing the cinematography. So that's kind of the overall feel it had. They used a lot of really good music in this overall movie. Now, it did have, even though it's a 2018 film, it did have that late 90s, early 2000s feel to it a little bit. And some people did say that in some of their reviews as well. I feel like the movie overall scratched the surface of what Black women deal with their hair. But I think it was a good, honest snapshot of a woman dealing with her identity in her hair. There is a very, very critically acclaimed scene where the actress Chanell Lathan shaves her actual hair in the movie, and it's very cathartic. It's also very scary for her, and when she does it, it's like she's letting go of the thing that has identified her all her 30-something years of life, which speaks to what we women go through when we are always trying to do different things with our hair. In this case, with the main character, she felt most beautiful when her hair was straightened, when that pressing comb went through that on her hair. And in my book, Identity, I talk about this, about the experience what all young Black girls go through with that hot comb experience or first flat iron experience. We want the end result of straight, flowing, earthy, see how I'm doing it? I can move my hair kind of thing. And we want to come out of our ponytails and our barrettes and our bows. I know when we're little girls, sometimes we'll put towels on our head or clothes to try to create length. Now that, weaves and braids are more popular, I'll see a lot of younger girls wearing their hair braided now. Back when I was younger, we did wear our hair braids, but they still were styles that young girls wear. Bring it here and I'll fix it, son. Bring it here. It'd be like different type of cornrow styles with beads, just things that are attached to the head and not more like individual braids. I know I couldn't get individuals until I was at least, I want to say I was like 11 or 12. And the closest I ever had to individuals before that, my mom would do various cornrow styles, where it looked like the hair was hanging, but it still was a cornrow style. So I still didn't have that free flowy feel yet. So that's kind of what the story is dealing with. This young girl, she opens it talking about, how her mom would always press her hair once a week. And once it was pressed, she just felt a different type of way. She felt perfect. And then, in the scene, they're showing her at the pool. And she wants to jump in that water. And her mom's like, you better not jump in that water. You better stand on the side and just look cute with your bathing suit. But you're not going to get that hair wet. And, she still jumps in and she gets picked on by the other kids. And in this particular scene in the movie, the kids were actually not black. Most of them looked like they were Caucasian. They were white. And so it was definitely a little sting right there when you saw that scene. Like, oh, one girl referred to her as a chia pet. And it was just like, oh, okay. And, I know we all have had experiences with name calling and picking as kids with our hair when it turned, when it would revert back to its natural state. But we've also had a racial experience in America. And at one point it was illegal for us to wear our own hair out in public. And we were forced to always wear wraps or head wraps or different things. And then we were forced to assimilate and straighten it just to get jobs and just to be quote unquote presentable. And I'm saying that really strongly, quote unquote presentable, because we can be presentable in an afro, we can be presentable in our natural hair, but with assimilation and the rules of assimilation in America, we've been forced to assimilate. I can't even say the word adapt, because it's very, what we have to do is very different. You always see these memes that are up where people will say, they'll try to talk bad about black women. There may be like 10 pictures of black women with different type of weave styles or just different type of looks, and it'll say, why is that black women want to look like white women, or why is that black women don't want to look like themselves? And it's like, well, this is a little bit of different of a topic. It's not that we're falling in line with mass media to the point of like the skin bleaching and the filling of the lips or changing the butts. Our hair in America, that whole story is a story of assimilation. It's not a story of we're trying to fit in with the in crowd or we want somebody to like us in a kind of way, so we're gonna do this fad. It's not a fad. It's really an act of assimilation. Even now, I'm wearing braids, and I pattern these braids to look a particular way. Now, yes, they are looking quite rough right now because I've been sick and I have not tied my hair up at all, so my edges are doing its own thing. But the point I'm making is I made my braids look a particular kind of way to mimic a wavy look that is very far from my own 4C afro. And I did that first, I did it because it is a protective style during the transitional months of when you come out of summer going into winter. For me, it's always my hair does its own thing. It really does. I love my hair, but it does its own thing. I know that. But then also this look is patterned from some form of assimilation. And I'm almost 40 years old. So I've been, we've all been trained to position ourselves a particular way to fit into society. And I say fit so in quotations as well. So the character in the story, she's basically sharing her story of assimilation, what she had to do to feel quote unquote perfect. And unfortunately, for black girls, when you look at those billboards, when you look at the various things in our society, it trains us to think that our cornrows and our ponytails and our Nubian knots or Bantu knots or all our little, the different things that we do with our I was about to say slick down tendrils, and that's not even what I was trying to say. That's the cultural appropriations phrase. But our edges when we do our baby hair, and just the different things we do to polish ourselves, to make ourselves feel a certain type of way in this society. And then of course with cultural appropriations, society will say, oh, those styles are too ghetto or too this, and then you'll see the Kardashians or some other socialite or non-black person, making money. Like I think just recently Kim Kardashian got props for doing some kind of, they called it a glass blowout or something to that nature, and it's really just a silk, it was basically a silk press. If I were to go get my hair with a silk press, then that's what it would look like. And of course some black person invented that in a salon somewhere, and she's walking around acting like she's created this thing. So back to the movie Nappily Ever After. Overall, the character is pleading this case for how her hair is just when it's straight, she feels important. And, you know, one unique scene in the movie, and here's a spoiler, like I said, if you have not seen it, stop this and go check it out. The mom shows up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to press her hair, you know. And no, the mom shows up at 5 a.m. to press her hair, and then she gets back in the bed with her man because she wants to feel perfect for him. And I thought that was quite interesting. And, you know, as someone who's done hair, I braided hair for 20 years. After I had my son, I had to really stop because I developed tendonitis in my hand, and I don't grip as well as I used to, and I don't want to do that to my clients. If I charge to do hair, I want to give you a good grip job in your hair, not too tight where you're messing up your scalp, but enough where the hair is in there, and I want to give it nice formality, and that still requires good gripping. And I can't grip the way I used to, so I don't braid for others anymore. I still attempt to do my hair when I can. That's probably why I leave it in longer than I usually do now. I don't do it as much because I'm accommodating the new ailment that came with having a baby. But I thought that was quite interesting. Because, you know, when I had other clients, I know some clients who would do some really interesting things with their hair. Just, they couldn't go out in public unless it was done. They felt a certain kind of way if it wasn't done. They felt a certain kind of way about themselves if it wasn't done. They didn't want anyone, even their intimate partners, to see them in a particular way. So you know, our hair is a very, very sensitive, vulnerable place for us. I remember one time, who was that? Tyra Banks said on her show, she felt a certain, I think this is when she was doing the cornrows episodes on her talk show. She used to always say she didn't want her boyfriends to see her prior to getting her hair done. She'd be like, don't come in this room. So for all of us, no matter, you know, how much money we have, or, you know, the Black experience with our hair and our society, we feel a certain kind of way prior. And a lot of that comes with our identity, assimilation, constantly being compared. If I was going to say, I know on the documentary Good Hair by Chris Rock, someone talks about that. I don't know if it was Nia Long or something, but it was just like, you know, the lighter, the brighter, the wider, the better. We just don't want to, we have a moment when it comes with our hair, and we feel a certain kind of way. I'm going to be honest. I love my 4C hair. I love that it's natural. But even to this day, I struggle with working with it. There's some mornings I get up and I love my afro. I love the way it's working with me. Then there's days it's doing what it wants to do, and I feel a certain kind of way about everything. Versus when I braid it, I feel like, okay, I can get up and go and I'm fine. And, you know, there's so many topics I can talk about with that. Okay, is this convenience, or is this me hating on me being a Black woman, me, you know, having this type of hair? What is that? So that's definitely something the movie deals with. The cathartic moment of the movie, and I say that loosely only because this movie is very warm. It's not dark at all. And every movie has its particular genre. Warmer films are going to have a more orangey feel, even in the tint. It's still going to have those hints of blues to contrast, to give you that mood, but it's going to be warm all the way. So even the dramatic scenes are going to be kind of played from a comedic standpoint than from a I want to cry kind of standpoint. But when she cut her hair, Chanell Lathan, and she actually cut her real hair. That was the cool part about the acting role. She went all in. It wasn't like she was like, just give me a prosthetic. She was like, I'm gonna cut my hair. And at first she wasn't gonna do it. At first she was gonna have them do a prosthetic, but then once she got into the character, she was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and commit to the full throttle of cutting my hair. So that's what she did. And when you watched it, you know, it was like watching another Big Chop, watching a YouTube experience. There was some freedom in that too, you know. I remember the first time, I've cut my hair twice, where I did a full fade. bald. Saw it on my scalp. First time I was 18 when I did it. I had been wanting to go natural for a while. I'd stopped perming my hair. My natural hair at that point was already down my back, and I just stopped perming it. So I had so much new growth under it. And as it was growing, I was like, oh my God, when I cut this perm off, my new growth is going to be banging. I had never had an afro, my natural 4C hair, anything in my life. I think this was like 97 or 98. I think it was 98. I think I was like a freshman in college when this happened. Yeah, because I was 18. So yeah. Okay, check out the robot. And I'll never forget what happened. I took my braids out and I said, okay, today's the day. I'm going to go ahead and do the big chop. We didn't call it that back then because the natural hair movement was just getting started. It hadn't come into full bloom yet. So I was like, I'm going to cut the perm out. That's all I kept saying. You know, some people say relaxer, some say perm. I actually did grow up saying perms, even though we knew it was a relaxer for black women. I didn't get the white girl perm where you put the rods in and roll it. No, I actually got a relaxer, but we grew up calling it perm. I don't know why. That was what my household did. And all I kept saying, I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to cut it out. I want to see what my hair looks like, because prior to doing the cut, what I started doing, because I had so much new growth, I would braid my hair and then just wear it out wavy. And I thought that when I cut that off, the part that was processed, that my natural hair was going to do something like that. I was going to have that wavy flow look. So I cut my hair, walked in the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and was overwhelmed with the fullness of my face. And I'm a beautiful woman, so I can say that wholeheartedly right now at 37. But at 18, I'd never seen my face so full before. And in late 80s, early 90s, I had a jerry curl, and my hair was cut pretty short for the jerry curl, but it was still enough curl where I could still see my face. This time I was like, TW, that teeny weeny afro look. And I was like, oh. And the first thing I said to myself was, I see Mammy. We can pause for a minute, because I know that probably hit somebody when I just said that. So we can pause for a second and just say, did you just say Mammy? Yes, I did. I looked in the mirror. I was like big-eyed, and I just went, I look like Mammy. I look like Aunt Jemima. And I sat down for a minute, had to take some deep breaths, went in my purse, counted out how much cash I had, got in my at the time I was driving an 83 Celica. The year was 98, so my first car was an 83 Celica. Jumped in my little 83 Celica, went right around the corner of Durant Square, bought 2 packs of synthetic hair. And that night, I cornrowed all night because my hair was so short. But I got them cornrows in because I knew how to grip. And I cornrowed some cornrows into my hair and didn't talk about it for at least a week or two. And it was it was a very surreal moment for me. Even now, as I'm sharing it, it's not so much that I'm crying. I'm more. It was a very, very unearthly experience at 18 doing that. And when I opened my mouth and said, I look like Mammy, all I could think about now, and even when I wrote my book Identity and I share that story, was, where on earth did I find that statement from in the depths of my heart at 18? I was born in 1980. Now, of course, I knew what Mammy was then. I'd had information and stories and classes on our slave experience and who Mammy was. We've all seen Aunt Jemima and the pancakes and that smile, that girl, I'm going there. And now looking back as a 37-year-old woman at who I was at 18 and what I faced in the mirror, because it was a psychological experience for me cutting my hair. It was. I didn't realize how attached I was to a Eurocentric look. I didn't realize how attached I was to this American experience, and how I had to always hide the African experience within myself. And the only word I could say was, I look like Mammy. Who did that to me? Was it my black school friends on the schoolyard? No. All we did was we kept approving the many statements that were pushed down to us from our society. It was supremacy who was doing that to us. It was our Eurocentric society and those Eurocentric standards of beauty. It was me speaking out with the Jim Crow caricatures, all those Jim Crow caricatures that were started in Jim Crow, probably 30, 40 years before my existence, 50 years before my mom and dad were born in Jim Crow. So I had that number 20 something years before my existence. Wasn't that long ago. So me in 1998 at 18, cutting my hair and looking in the mirror, and the first thing all I could say was, I look like Mammy. Just process that for a second. Now, as I'm telling you my experience, and it feels very dramatic, it's very psychological. In the movie with Nappily Ever After, because we're still talking about that, when she cut her hair, she's definitely, having a drunken moment. And she doesn't have a moment with facing it until the next morning when she's sober. One moment. When she comes to in the morning, she's sober. And you see some of this in the trailer. And she screams. She has that moment. Now, in the movie, because like I said, the movie is a snapshot. It's not an in-depth. They don't talk about what she's screaming about. Now, we know that she feels perfect. Cut my hair. The second time I cut my hair, I was 24. And what I did from 18 to 24 is I would wear, they call it tech slacks now. Back then, we would call it texture risers, where we put a little bit of perm in our hair, leave it in for not even the long 20 minutes that you're supposed to leave it in, but maybe half the time, and take it right out. And so I wore that for a while so that I could have the Afro look, but have it looser and more wavier. So when I turned 24, I had totally damaged my hair. I had done all kind of dyes and various tech slacks, and it was just damaged. The Afro wasn't even popping the way it used to, and I was like, it's time for something new. And something in me was like, cut your hair, do it again. And I already knew how I felt before. I was like, I feel like Mammy, but I had been wearing my hair in that Afro state for about a good 5-6 years now, between 18 and 24. And so I was used to seeing myself in some type of Afrocentric way at this point. I had totally broken the Eurocentric. Because when I was in school, we wore wraps. That's how we did our hair. We would get it relaxed, have them flat iron it to the T, and at night we just wrap that sucker up, put our scarf on, and then take it off, and you'd have that look, that fall thing. And how Leah would have her hair like that, that's what we were doing. So from 18 to 24, I had to break that image of myself. So something was like, do it again. And I trusted that, and I did it. And my mom and I went to my cousin's house and got his clippers, and she lined me all up and got me looking real good. And I looked in that mirror and I smiled. I saw my the apple cheeks here going on, and I just embraced my beauty. I was definitely Afrocentric. I was definitely a black woman, honey, and you saw it all, flaws and all, and I owned it. I loved it. I started getting my eyebrows arched more and wearing my little hoop earrings just to feminize myself a little bit more, but I found me. I almost want to say I found God, and I did. It was when I shaved my hair the second time at 24, I found a freedom that I had never had before. And when I walked out in public, people would stop me. Oh my God, sister, that is beautiful. Oh, girl. Oh, yes. And just different phrases. They would say that, of course, nobody was saying yes at the time, but I would just get stopped in the street, random places, because I had so much energy and confidence coming out of me at that point. Nobody could tell me that I was an ugly woman. Now, of course, yeah, you'd have your moments where people try to question you and say little slide stuff, but other than that, you couldn't tell me nothing. Now, where I'm at now, I like my afro, and I really like my braids for my lifestyle. I got a kid. So, right now, braids are just a very convenient walk for me right now. So, it was a good movie. Like I said, I gave it a B. Check it out. Post your thoughts. Like I said, go in knowing that it is a warm, fuzzy movie. Don't expect like some big dramatic, we about to have a big old cry. Something might trigger you. I don't know. It could, depending on where you are with your own hair walk. And I'm not saying that everybody has to go natural to have that moment of reckoning between your African self and your American self, but the conversations need to still be had, even while we have had a full natural hair movement and people are still getting delivered. And I have to use that word, delivered, from the assimilated lifestyle. I say in my book, your hair is happiest when you are natural, because you're not putting all the chemicals and stuff in it, but you are happiest when you are stylistically free. And what that means is, do you. If it's for you, meaning if you can, learn how to wear your hair in its natural state, learning the upkeep, the maintenance, and dealing with every element of what that looks like, because so much comes with it. It could change your whole lifestyle. It could change your job situation, because they're still banning dreadlocks and certain Afro styles and things in the corporate world. So if you can figure out how to navigate through that, by all means do it. It is a very healthy experience. And I got to say that because studies have shown that certain chemical products do cause fibroids and different things. I got a story on that. I'll share it in another experience. But if it's not something for you, just make sure your hair is healthy. Go to your beautician at least once a month. Keep those ends clipped. Get a good moisturizer, a good conditioning always. If you're wearing perms, good protein type treatment in your hair. And just stay on top of it. Don't lose your hair. Don't lose it to breakage. Don't lose it to too many weaves or too many protective styles. Hold on and love your edges. There was that Love Your Edges campaign. My cousin said in a documentary I did about hair, Black women, we can wear our hair any kind of way. We can weave it, we can dread it, we can do all these things to it, as long as we know we don't have to be beautiful. That's where the problem lies, and that's where we have to always make sure we're checking that element. And I know a lot of our babies, and I say babies because we just do what's been passed down. We see a lot of it. People will be sitting in that chair and they'll have that mask up and their edges are gone, and that's when we gotta start having those healthy conversations, because it's our health. Too tight braids are gonna break the cuticle and you're not gonna have any more growth. Traction alopecia. It really is a psychological warfare, and warfare on our hair. And it impacts who we are sometimes as women. So we gotta get a hold of that. That's something we should definitely discuss and talk about. So I'm Chanell J. Wilson for Braid Girl. Thank you for watching, and I'll have more. I hope you enjoyed my review on Nappily Ever After, and I hope I didn't spoil it too much for you. Like I said, go check it out. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye. You're so amazing.